always winning, right? 'Cause Nemo questions pinning. Andrew called the shot, don't miss the frame. Hobby hooligan, what's your name?
Hey, what's up, Hobby Hooligans? Welcome to another episode of Ashtabula Hobby Talk. I'm your host, Raikus, and the owner of Captain's Comics in North Kingsville, Ohio. And I'm here with Nemo, and we got a great episode today. What's going on, Nemo?
Hey, Hobby Hooligans. Man, I'm really looking forward to our guest. And as you can all see, we have our in-studio guest, Avery. I am obviously, you know the spiel. I've got the radio club and the other thing and all that. Let's get right into the guest. Avery, thanks for coming down.
You're welcome.
Sitting in on the studio with us. Awesome to be here.
And this is kind of cool because this is going to be like our first ever two-part series.
Yeah, we've definitely got a two-parter.
We'll explain that later. But everybody knows that I'm like big heavy into trail life, and one of the things that happened in trail life is we went to this rifle shoot called Project Appleseed, and they're really, really good at training young kids or young adults to safely handle firearms. And I rolled my son into it, and it was a great program. And during this program, I met Avery.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool because he had this big, huge cannon.
It's not that big, but it was, yeah. Well, my cannon down there, I do a little living history for the kids. They love it, you know.
And that's kind of ties into your hobby.
Yeah.
So you're outside of cannons. You do black powders and rifles and
Yes. Yeah, we like to call it historical shooting or shooting black powder. And we basically get together and compete. You got to be a history nerd for it. We like to get together and compete with the historical weapons from like 1700s, 1800s in using the traditional methods. You know, in just learn about history and compete in marksmanship.
that sounds great. I mean, I never really handled a black powder rifle before. I've caught up a little bit on it before the shoot, and it seems very fun, and I'd like to know a lot more about it.
Well, we're going to show you.
It's going to be great. So for me, I got into black powder because of the survival aspect of it. Because, you know, when you're in the survival prepper community, all these guys are like, oh, what's your best survival gun? What's your best prepper gun? And they all want to have their M4s or their M1s or their, you know, they all have their lists. And for years and years and years, I've said, you know, those are all great, but you need a black powder gun.
Yes, you could. If one wanted to, black powder is relatively easy to make. Don't recommend it. It's just too easy to go buy it. But if you had to, and it's really easy to cast the ammunition. And I've even made my own ignition cap.
Yeah, and you don't have to be very exact with it. I mean, honestly, like with my own experience, you could throw BBs wrapped in a cloth down the barrel, and as long as you got some match heads in there or whatever to create the combustion, it'll push it out. You might have to stand right over that rabbit hole for a couple of minutes, but you'll find something.
Yeah. At one point in time, I do a lot of hunting. I do a lot of small game hunting with this. This particular one's only a 36 caliber. It's just squirrel rifle.
Right.
And but it's authentic to the time period. That's what a lot of people shot back in the day. And I went about 8 years without taking a 22 or anything modern like a 12 gauge out of my gun cabinet. This was all I used in. I got a deer that year, all kinds of squirrel. You know, these can be way more proficient than people think and way more accurate than people think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people go, oh, they're 20-yard guns, but they really aren't. I know mine, it's got the spin as it's going, but if you pace that right, it'll tag quite some ways.
Oh yeah, I mean, We shoot at like competitions. It's nothing to have like a 12-inch going out at 100 yards, and guys are wrapping that thing all day long.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they're seriously more accurate than like people tend to believe. There's a big myth with them that, you know, you can't hold them steady, what have you. And when you start shooting them, if you learn the gun with the right amount of powder, the right patch, you can, well, put it this way, in the Revolutionary War, it was Timothy Murphy took, Burgoyne out of the saddle at 200 yards. That's pretty impressive.
That's a good shot.
Yeah. I mean, back then, you know, people, they were so fluent with these, they could make shots like that. But, they're, like I said, far more precise than you think.
When I was going to Project Appleseed for the first time, I never shot a rifle since I was a kid. So that was my first time. And they instruct you how to do the rifleman cadence and the breathing, the right time to shoot when you're in between breaths, and just kind of, you don't want to do it when you're breathing in or out, because
right at the end of your breath.
exactly.
And with that cadence you learn, it's everything just happens like a little slower.
Right.
You know, a lot of people they think that a flintlock hesitates so much, and there's this big delay in it. Well, if you shoot them enough and you learn your weapon, learn how to tune your mainspring and your cock spring, they go off instantaneously. It's just still, there's a lot more follow through on it. And so it's
Right. There's a little bit more skill into it, from what I understand. 'Cause
Yes.
There's even just the slightest delay from the time that you pull the trigger to when the ignite.
Your respiratory pauses, everything.
Right. So you have to think about that. You have to take more. There's more skill into it.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get
Yeah.
into.
Definitely. And there's definitely a whole lot more time in the respiratory pause. At the end of it, you learn just when to bear down on that trigger. And that's kind of where a lot of guys get in trouble that compete, and I'm guilty of this, is they switch around guns too much. The most dangerous man you'll ever meet is a guy with one gun. You know, because if you shoot one gun all the time, you know it so much better and can understand all its weird little quirks. But that's the fun part of it. You know, when you with these, it's so primitive and so basic. When you get into the brass tacks of it, it will so much look as far as your marksman skills to be even so much better with your regular modern rifle.
Right.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot. It's just a lot of good training.
I guess let's start talking about some of the legal aspects of it. First of all, who can have these and who can't?
Okay, yeah, I think there's only about 5 states where you gotta have paperwork to own one.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, to purchase it. You can actually, in most states, still mail it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they fall under the collectors and relics category.
Right. Okay, now, I do know if you have a felony, you can't own one that can, any of the styles that can be converted, like a cap and ball, you can't own it because it can be converted. But other than that,
Inlines, all that stuff's out of the question. Because those are more modern.
a inline is a single shot. I still think you can go hunting with one of those if you actually. This gets real technical. I had to look all into this for someone not too long ago. As long as if you're a felon and you've completed your probation, you can have one. Yeah, you know, but you know, it doesn't have half the restrictions that a regular firearm has, because, I mean, come on, maybe you could get a load off every minute or so with the rifle barrel, and it's just, you're not gonna rob a bank with one, you know.
Yeah.
but you still can be incredibly accurate as far as hunting and stuff. You know.
Well, I know lots of people around in this area, specifically between northeastern Ohio and northwestern Pennsylvania, where we're at. You know, there's a ton of people that hunt with them all over.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that shoot with them. And in this area, we have a lot of black powder shooters and a lot of black powder hunters. And
Don't they have like a whole week just?
yeah,
for,
we
and they break it down. It's like Flintlock and.
in Pennsylvania, it has to be a Flintlock for their Flintlock season, which is like at the end of December, beginning of January. I'm not sure. I haven't hunted over there in years, but they actually have now a doe season, early season, where you're allowed to use a cap lock or an inline. And then in Ohio, it usually it's first weekend in January. We get like a 4-day season, which is kind of nice in Ohio. You can shoot doe or buck in you can use any type of muzzleloader.
Yeah.
No restriction on it. As long as it loads through the front.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've taken mine out. I have a White Mountain carbine and I love it. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
Well, in this area, really in Ohio, if you've really only got to be really proficient in maybe max 80 yards. The average deer taken in Ohio is taken at 65 yards.
Yeah.
So I was told on the website. So I'm sure someone out there was going to want to argue that with me. But if you want to get into a little bit of
Yeah.
okay.
Let's take a look. I love the Flintlocks. I haven't ever owned one, but
Well, there's
the one I have is cap and ball. So
yeah,
let's maybe talk about the differences.
Yeah, there's two different types. Okay, the flintlock was invented in France about 1610, and took off like nobody's business. Half of Europe owned one within 40 years. You know, and it's basically works just like they say, off a piece of flint striking a piece of steel, which ignites the powder in the pan. It burns down into the hole, which touches the gun off. And this is the longest lasting type of ignition. It's even predated the cartridge. This was been around for almost 250 years, right? This was in use. This is a little bit more trickier to shoot than a cap lock. Some people, they say, I think that's kind of debatable. I think they both have their different styles. It's just different styles of shooting. But this gets a little bit more complicated for like someone who's getting started in it. I wouldn't steer anyone away from starting with the flintlock. I just think it's a little easier with the cap lock. If anything, availability of the flint, and you have to use black powder in these. So until you kind of learn the sport and learn where you can get all your stuff, just for availability. But I want to set that back there.
Now, is this one? This one's modeled off of the one from France, then.
The lock is.
Okay.
The lock. The gun is actually modeled after an American rifle from the Appalachian region, which is I'll explain that. That gets kind of fun. All right. Now this is a cap lock, basically. Like your other front stuffers, you pour the powder in, and you put your patch and ball down and drive everything home. You load. We've all seen it done on TV. And this is what they call a cap lock. Is actually how it works. You would put a small cap on here, a brass cap. It's filled with mercury fulminate. It's basically the same thing, the little cap guns we had when we were kids, only it's a metal cap. That's where those cap guns came from, these things. And you'd put that on there, put on a half cock, and when you're ready to fire, pull the trigger. It comes down, ignites the cap, sets the gun off. The reason why I recommend, if we were going to get in brand new shooter, get into muzzleloading to go with cap lock. If anything, cap lock can shoot synthetic gunpowder, and synthetic gunpowder is a little easier to obtain. It's a little easier to work with. It's easier to start on a cap lock if you wanted to. And the cap lock here, it came after the Flintlock. These were invented in Scotland in 1812, and another guy patented them, I think, 1820. So this would have been here in the United States. It was patented. This would have been more like the trapper era, just pre-Civil War, and would have been the style of gun they used going into the Civil War. This came along later. Metallic cartridge came about the time this became the hottest thing since sliced bread. Somebody invented a metallic cartridge, and that was kind of the death of the muzzleloader. But again, you're talking survival. I was amazed doing research when I found out how many people held onto these and shot them clear up to the turn of the century, just because of the ease of being able to mold and make your own ammunition. But it's a lot of fun to learn all about these old guns and shoot them competitively. You'll see when we second part. But how'd you put it? These guns, real quick, if I could point something out, as I handle it, put them back and forth. The fun part about history in all these, learning how to shoot them, is this goes back to about this one here, about 1860, okay? I'm sorry, 1760. These things, they can speak a language. Okay. This is the fun part of learning all the history and learning how to shoot them. Certain shapes and stuff, like if we were sitting in a tavern in we'll say it's 1770, and I'm leaning on this gun, you could tell what part of the country, what county I came from just by my gun, because put it this way, this part of this gun right here, this back half, that says Germany all over it. It would have been more like the Germans who came over,
Sure.
and built the guns in, let's say, in Virginia and what have you. There's a lot of Germans in Northern Virginia along the Maryland line. They built a lot of these guns. Even like the trigger guards, like the curve to it. You notice it's different on every gun. That almost tells you what part of the country it was built in. I can hold up most of the muzzleloaders and nail it almost down to the county they came from. And in learning all this aspect of it, the history that goes with them is just awesome. Like the lock plate here, this one's really round. That means the lock came from Europe. Where these are flat on here, those were manufactured in the States. It has a lot of cool, it's fun to learn all the history, where they came from and stuff. And some of them you see are just absolute works of art that these guys built.
Notice, we're talking about the naming conventions, and so probably the most famous one is the Kentucky.
Yeah.
I noticed none of these are those, right?
The Kentucky rifle, that style rifle, Pennsylvania and Kentucky, I've argued back and forth who owns the rights to it. And matter of fact, the University of Kentucky and University of Pennsylvania have a shooting match every year to see who's going to get the rights for that. It's kind of funny. You look it up. But these basically, this one comes from like it would come from the Appalachian region. This one was made after a gun that was built in Virginia. And as far as like the Kentucky rifle, these both are basically what everyone calls a Kentucky or a Pennsylvania long rifle. It's kind of a universal name, for the long rifle. But most of them if you know what to look for, you can nail it right down to the state and county. Yeah, Ohio guns, most of them were really short. We didn't have a lot of gunsmiths until later. And most of that's the Ohio guns, like the Vincents, were like a half stop,
Maybe like
something,
this one.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
That's
So,
very
but-
cool because each gun can like tell a story about.
Yes, they can speak in language, but real quick, if we could cover getting started in this hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to cover that.
Well,
Because we're-
how did you get started first?
How did I get started?
Yeah, what made you? Was it the history or was it the gun first? What part of which came first?
1976. I was 9 years old, and it was a bicentennial. That's all we learned about in school: American history and American pride, and I just laid into it hard, hot and hard,
Right.
And when I was a kid growing up, Daniel Boone was the TV show was like one of my favorite shows. Yeah, I just always had a thing for American history, and so the gun kind of came along with it along the way. And then in that era, we most people my age, we grew up on that movie Jeremiah Johnson.
Yep. And who's that old guy with the grizzly bear?
Grizzly Adams.
Grizzly Adams, yeah.
So we just all kind of grew up with that. And
All those old shows, there was a guy with a black powder gun.
83, I built my first kit, a rifle kit, which is one thing I kind of want to talk about was how to get into it. And I built my first kit, a little 32 caliber CVA, and I never looked back. I've had to set it aside a lot of times just because I got to work too much. But it's been my hobby for, I don't know, 30 some odd years. So anyways, you can get into this multiple different ways. If you want to buy a gun, you want to try this out, come shoot with us. First things first, you can just go out and buy a percussion muzzleloader, and all the accoutrements and stuff tools you'll need to load it. Nowadays, unfortunately, although Thompson Center is talking about getting back into it, they're really unclear on that. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. But most of them are Italian made or Spanish made. If you just buy them at a gun store, you can find them used, or just pick up a cheap one. There's nothing wrong with that. Even the cheap ones, can be incredibly accurate. I still hunt with gun kit I bought at Kmart years ago. If you know how to work with them, you can make them accurate. So you can just outright buy one. Like I bought this one when I was probably, I think, 20 years old. 59 now. I've had it a few years, and it looks like it, But it's lasted me all these years, and it's just a factory-made gun. But you can go on other routes if you get real brave and you get into it, like the Virginia rifle there I showed you. I bought that as a kit and put that together myself.
That's kind of cool. So it's a history and a kit. So you're heavily invested in a single gun because you got your hands on it, you built it.
Oh yeah.
And there's something poetic about that.
Yes. Yeah. And the gun means a lot more to you when you've got yourself all over it. And what was fun is I did all the research and I tried to make it as historically correct as possible, right down to what type of wood that I bought for the kit that came in it. And like the stain, I stained it in aqua fortis or iron nitrate, which is what they would have used back in the day. That's that gun right there. I stained that. Well, you wipe it on and it looks this nasty green. You're like, oh my God, I run my gun. And you put some heat to it and it turns that beautiful amber color. It's nothing like a regular wood stain. It's like, I can't explain. It's almost like it's almost burned into the wood. it's a chemical reaction, we'll say, more than a stain. You can't scratch that gun. I bump that thing off everything, you know, and it's just really durable. Now this one here, this is kind of neat. You can go this route too if you're really brave. You know, and you want to get into it. Most of the guys somewhere down the road, they get into it this far. A friend of mine built this gun. He bought the barrel, the lock, the trigger and everything, and he did it from scratch. He carved the stock himself and everything, and, you know, I think he did a pretty good job, you know? And you can get into this. The higher up you go with this, you know, you start spending money, you can really spend some money on it. But there's usually people, they buy the factory gun, they shoot it for a while, and we always hook them. They're coming back, and then they usually end up building a gun.
Well, they're fun to go out to the field with.
Oh yeah,
I bought mine. You know, you talk about getting them cheap. I bought mine for. It's a White Mountain carbine.
yeah.
Cap and ball. I paid $60 for it, and I bought it off an old Boy Scout troop.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that was at least 20 years ago. And I shoot it. I bring it out at least 4 or 5 times a summer. Shoot it. I joke about knocking the rust off of it, but it is what it is.
It still works.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yeah.
When they start to get old and get rust on them, that's when they got character. You know.
My father has a few of these. Back when I was younger, I remember going over his house, and he was a woodworker.
Yeah.
So he knows his way around. He had his own shop. He was probably, I want to say, one of the craftiest people in this region. I mean, he was known for his craftsmanship with wood. And I remember going over his house, and he had this tool, like his big easel, that you set a gun on there, and he would work on that, the stock of it.
Yeah.
He'd build he would just find the wood out in the woods, and he brings it home. And through a series of like about a month or something, I'm going over there every other weekend or every weekend, and I'm seeing this piece of wood transform into this beautiful tiger striped stock, and it was amazing.
Absolute labor of love. So some of these guys, you know, that's the neat part of the hobby is, you know, you want to go that route, building your own gun. Not everybody does. I didn't for years. The artwork and stuff, and it doesn't even stop there. You know, that's the whole part of the hobby is, you know, as we're shooting these historical guns, you know, we dress the part and everything when we have these shoots, and it doesn't stop there. We like try to make as much of it as you can, because you're trying to almost relive that time period or history. And like a friend of mine does horns. He did this one for me. This, you know, not something else you can buy. A lot of the guys, they
Specifically though, before we get into all that, this is like the gear
Yeah.
that you have to carry with you. We would refer to it as a possible bag.
yeah, the possibles bag.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys make this stuff that goes with it to shoot the guns, and you know, it can be very easily made. You know, and some of them, they are just over the top artists, and it's just a lot of fun to learn all these different crafts. Shoot, we have some people in our club that sew their own clothes and stuff, but it's
My wife, she crocheted my possible bag.
yeah.
So there's a liner in it, but it's crocheted and it strings over my shoulder. It's green, but you know, that's what I use when I go out.
Yeah, and it works. It works fine. But
So what exactly is the function of the possible bag?
the possibles bag is what you carry all your tools in. You know,
Brush and things like that.
the brush to clean the powder residue out of the pan. You would have a cap holder to put the caps on. I mean, basically carry all your balls and your cleaning equipment for the gun. You know,
Right.
basically carry your ammunition. And some people carry a powder flask, but most folks, because I think these are a little safer, they use a powder horn. And we've all seen these on the TV shows about the mountain man and that. It just wears around your shoulder and keeps about a half pound of powder, enough to get you through at least the day of shooting. But this is a whole nother part of the hobby too, making these, the crafts that go with it.
Yeah, the leather working and curing the horns and all that stuff is all, each one of those things is kind of a hobby in itself.
Right. It's what the neat thing is about, shooting historical rifles, it branches out in all these other different hobbies, and it gets quite extensive, and if you go to the artisan shows, that's what a lot of people do in the winter. They don't want to shoot in the winter. They go to the shows where they sell the guns and all the crafts and stuff. And then it stretches out from there. I mean, you have there is an organization which we should mention is called the National Muzzleloader Rifle Association, just like the NRA, except we're muzzleloaders. Maybe not as political, but anyways, they own a huge facility. They actually have a park down there in Friendship, Indiana, down across the river from Cincinnati. They have matches down there sometimes where there's 2,000 and 3,000 people down there. Wow. They do it twice a year. It's like 10 days long. And those folks down there camp out in teepees. They look the part, and you don't. That's the thing I'd like to stress too. You don't have to spend all this money or get that deep into it. The great thing about the black powder community, we call it, is it's just a great bunch of people. I mean, if you want to just come shoot with your kids now and then, and you don't have to bury a whole lot of money in expensive rifles. We'll help you get started. We'll show you the basics, and you don't have to get that deep into it. That's fine. You don't have to spend yourself broke to have a good time with it. And we have a lot of folks that like that shoot with us, and we have some people, I just wonder how bad they've wrecked their credit card, that we shoot with.
That's in every hobby, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that one guy, he's a, Yeah, it like I said, it branches out into different things. You have the reenactors too. It can go reenact.
So, like from what you do, like I know some guys that are Civil War reenactors.
Yeah,
and they're like into it. They have both sides.
Yeah,
so they've got full good detail on both sides. They'll set up a whole camp, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what period? So you guys do the reenacting stuff too. What period
actually,
are you guys kind of doing?
Around here, you can do whatever impression you want. Yeah, like that one rifle back there is from the 1840s. I tend to do a French trapper when I
okay
did that one. At an event you can do about any as long as it's, let's say,
so not
Civil War,
not necessarily Civil War or Revolutionary War reenactment. You guys actually kind of take it to the civilian aspect of it,
right? And we're doing an impression of a person or a type of person, like a long hunter.
It's more like a Daniel Boone type,
right?
Or Lewis and Clark, those kinds of guys,
right?
You keep referring to a group. You said there's like a bunch of groups all over the place, but is there like a group local here that does stuff?
Yes, it's what we're here to talk about,
right?
And that is Ashtabula. Yeah, Rod and Gun Club out there. They probably have the nicest woods walk shoot around, and that's generally where I shoot. Most of my friends shoot, and we're
going to be separating this into a two-part series.
In the next episode that we do on this, which is going to be coming up pretty soon, we're gonna be running out there and checking.
We're going to take you guys on
a black powder woods walk shoot, and they have one of the nicest courses out there. Great people out there. We usually have a small lunch afterwards. a lot of the guys out there, again, we got guys who are really into it, guys who are just getting started and stuff. Good people, really fine people. And there's other groups out in, there's plenty of places that do this. There's like this network of small clubs all over the country. Over in Pennsylvania, like you have one in Punxsutawney. I can't think of the name of them off the top of my head, but I shoot out at Erie, Fort Erie long rifles. So you shoot out there all the time. They have a paper shoot out there. Theirs is a little different. You know, they're shooting at paper targets, basically like we do at Appleseed, and they score it, you know, in the end.
Right.
And Canal Fulton, you know, there's always these, wherever you usually have a gun club, they have a muzzleloader shoot maybe one day a month or something. They're usually on Saturday or Sunday afternoons. And it's get together and shoot. And again, I can't stress that enough. How decent the people are. Like, you got to get a lot of little tools and stuff to help you shoot the gun. You need a powder measure and a ball starter, you know. When you first start out, guys will help you with show you what you need. And this is a weird, craziest thing I always about this sport. You can be an absolute peril with your gun. You can have like the worst problem in the world with it at a match. The competition is going to come over and help you fix your gun. You know, it's that type of sport. They're going to do everything they can to get you.
Sure, it's not about winning. It's about the sport of it.
Well, it's
Yes.
about winning too.
Yeah, it is. To some of us, trust me, it's about winning. But a lot of it's, I think, more about the camaraderie and absolutely learning the old ways and the old traditions.
Yeah.
The old skills can be so much fun. There is a complete difference, at least to me, and a lot of guys I know who do it, who go out in the woods and they drop a deer with a 30-06, compared to doing it old school,
It's
passion
different.
ball. You got to get so close, closer. It's just a lot different. It is such a rush to do it the old ways. Shoot, when I kill a squirrel with one of those, it's just an over the top high because I'm doing it the way they did it 200 years ago. I don't know. Call me a history nerd. I'm fine with that. That's part of it I enjoy, you know,
Yeah.
learning these ancient methods.
So when I started getting into them, after I bought my first one, and this would go through my head. So like you, you know, I'm a couple of years younger than you are, but I grew up watching Bugs Bunny cartoons
Yeah.
and Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny and all these other cartoons that all had black powder muzzleloaders in the cartoons.
Yeah.
So we would watch them, and inevitably they would malfunction. They'd
Yeah.
be packing it down, and there'd be a boom, and the rod would shoot up in the air, and for at least a year, maybe even a year and a half of operating, shooting, holding one, I had that in my head every time I went to load my rifle.
There is a set of dangers with them. You
Sure.
know, like any other you know, firearm. But what we want to do with these is when you're loading them, you just keep them away from your face. You know, and that's
Obviously,
there's a lot of myths. You know, you hear about people talk about how they'll blow up on you, and trust me, with modern steels, this gun usually shot at 90 grain. You could put 400 grains in it. It's not going to come apart. It's fine. But there is a set of safety issues which we're going to go over with you guys.
sure, we'll do that out in the field.
Yeah, it's just like any other gun. You can get hurt with it, but mainly pouring the powder in.
Yeah, that's
you know.
once you've got that in and it's done.
You know, if you shoot it and you wait a few seconds, you know it's done. You can put another note in it. It'll be fine.
Now, take us back to 1983 when you bought your first kit. How much did that cost, and how much does it cost now?
$67.
Wow.
It was just a little squirrel rifle.
I think I looked into the rifle you have there, or maybe a similar rifle, a West Virginia rifle kit, and it was like $600.
The kit to build this one now for the factory gun. This is getting up there a little bit in quality. The kit would run you about $550, $600.
Yeah.
But again, you can find every gun store's got a couple used muzzleloaders in it. You know, if you want to, I get it, not spend a lot of money to see if you like it at first.
Sure.
Let's not talk about the cheapest, but maybe something that's decent. Not the greatest, but just decent.
Right.
How much is?
You could get yourself into a good used muzzleloader for a couple $100. Yeah, you know, a brand new, because it's such a niche market, and they all come from Italy or Spain, and the difference in the conversion of money, it seems outrageous. But brand new, it's going to cost you about $350, $400 to get into one.
Now, obviously, you can't go to Kmart anymore to buy one.
No.
But where would we go locally? That's not like all over the
Yeah,
place. Is there any place locally, like maybe?
you can do mail order. There is any of your big high dollar, or what, high dollar is the wrong word we use for it. Your bigger sporting goods stores, you know, the real big
Right.
ones, will have a line of muzzleloaders, but really, there is muzzleloader shops.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
like and subscribe, leave a comment, and come back in a couple weeks where we're going to go to this club. And
we got the away mission coming up. Close it out. Hobby on.
I'll be on.